make sure they put the hot peppers on my sandwich, please?
Not if you're gonna ask like that.
I said please.
Welcome back to Q Dads, guys. I'm Ben, and yes, I'm back today with something different. Percy Jackson and the Olympians. First two episodes have just been dropped, which retell the tale of Percy Jackson, following the same story as the book and the 2010 film. Now, although the story follows the same path as its predecessors, Disney have made some changes, which include characters with more exposure, a new take on mythology, and we even get Poseidon showing us his trident. And no, that is not a euphemism. Now, I'm not sure whether I like this series so far. It has the warmth and delights that we know from the Percy Jackson series, but I feel that it lacks the grittiness that the 2010 film gave us. Now, I am going to talk more about the visuals of the series and the film rather than the books. With that being said, I'm going to give us a quick recap as the story is pretty much the same that we've already seen, but spoilers ahead from this point as I will mention the story as a whole. First episode of Percy Jackson starts in a museum, with Percy played by Walker Scobell. He looks around at some of these statues and we get to see his dyslexia kick in. We get a nice quote.
Not everyone who looks like a hero is a hero. And not everyone who looks like a monster is a monster.
Clearly foreshadowing some of the characters like Luke and Hades, probably a little bit later on in the series. Great detail here is that Chiron gives Percy his pen sword, which is just a normal Bic biro with a chewed lid. Brilliant. We get a disappointing monster fight with Miss Dodds, which seems to play more on Percy's emotions than showing us some action. Later explained that the mist prevents anyone from seeing what's happened, along with Grover's legs. But I think Disney missed a real opportunity here. After getting kicked out of school and also having Grover, his friend, rat him out, Percy heads home to see Gabe. Now, this whole scene annoys me. Not only is he not portrayed as he was in the movies, but the level of abuse this character is nowhere near the expected level. And if anything, it's the opposite, as he even apologises to Sally Jackson.
Please, could you have them put the peppers on my sandwich?
You got it.
Sally and Percy head to a beach hut where she opens up about his real dad.
You fell in love with God? Like Jesus?
Grover steps in and the three of them head towards Camp Half-Blood where a Minotaur in pants chases them. That's right, you heard correctly. For me, yes, it was great to see the Minotaur fight scene, but with Percy, it just wasn't as good. The character choice for Percy I don't think is good enough for that brave, heroic quality that Percy's supposed to have. In episode 2, Percy wakes up in Camp Half-Blood and is determined to find his dad. We then see Dionysus, who calls Percy Peter Johnson. Here, it's quite funny to see Dionysus pretend to be his dad. Percy and Chiron take a walk in the woods and show him all the cabins of all the gods. Here, Percy steps into the Hermes cabin and actually meets Luke, son of Hermes. We then cut to Grover as he meets with the Cloven Council. Now, in the 2010 film, this woman who came from the tree was actually Thalia, a forbidden child. Now, is Thalia, obviously the daughter of Zeus, or is this someone completely different? We realise that his mom has been taken by Hades, and that Clarice is an absolute bully. We get some good shots of Percy failing at sports.
Should I try again?
No!
Percy's then harassed by Clarice, but uses the power of toilet water to get rid of them. And then onto the game of Capture the Flag. Here we meet Annabeth, who has a new addition with a hat that turns you invisible, a hint towards some of the gifts that the gods give their children. And I also feel this is some epic foreshadowing for how the series may end. Percy fights Clarice and gets some great skills before Annabeth pushes him into the water to reveal Poseidon's trident and rightfully claiming Percy as a demigod. The episode ends with us learning about the Master Bolt being taken and that Percy is directly in the firing line. Now, overall, the series is enjoyable, but lacks that grittiness that Percy Jackson franchise usually has. There are certain elements missing, like the level of abuse from Gabe. He's supposed to be shown as this cruel, abusive and neglectful stepfather. But actually, in these episodes, it's quite the opposite. He almost like he has those qualities, but doesn't show them enough. And also, the fact that everyone seems to be afraid to say the wrong thing. I think the characters are very careful about what they're saying to each other, if that makes any sense at all. Now, the choice of actors for some of the cast, for me, they just don't feel right. But is this just Disney being Disney, or is this to attract maybe a new audience base? Also, there were a lot of cuts fading the screen to black. Was this overkill? Or is this actually because Disney Plus is soon going to be adding adverts? Either way, it was a little bit too much for me. I do, though, like some of the comedy that they actually delivered. They had some great one-liners, and some of the acting choice was brilliant. But the biggest gripe for me is that we had no gods. Yes, we got a lot of references and a lot of nods and a few name drops here and there. But with the first 2 episodes, I would have expected to have at least seen one god. Wrapping up, I feel conflicted. Half of me enjoyed the episodes, the visual effects, characters, humour, and the new take on some mythical elements. But the other half just really hates it. I just don't think it's dark enough, and I think they're glossing over a lot of elements. There's a few scenes, especially with Percy, and I keep coming back. Was Walker the right choice for this actor? Like, don't get me wrong, he portrays Percy in this innocent, naive child who has a lot of trouble in his youth. But on the other hand, he just doesn't have those heroic qualities. So when episode 1, he was jumping on the Minotaur's back, it wasn't real. It's funny to say, but it wasn't realistic enough. And then how he suddenly was able to win a group of very skilled warriors in hand-to-hand combat when he was by the water in Camp Half-Blood. Again, just didn't seem realistic. He has half of the skills of Percy Jackson for me, but just lacks that other bit. And the show overall, it should be a little bit darker for me. And yes, I know it's aimed at kids, it's on Disney Plus, but still, I think they're just lacking in that department. But anyway, let me know in the comments your thoughts on the opening episodes, and how are you enjoying the new take on Percy Jackson, and what do you think of Walker playing Percy Jackson? Right, anyway, I'm off for a brew, so take care.